Brought to you by the International Association for Near-Death Studies.
I'm here with Jeanette Riley. She is the IANDS Executive Director, and she's going to talk about this coming IANDS conference.
We'll be in Bellevue, just outside Seattle. It's really a star-studded lineup, more than 30 different speakers, some presenting alone, some presenting in panels. We're going to be starting our first night with Eadie, who wrote Embraced by the Light, having a conversation in the evening. And then our opening keynoter will be a favorite, Anita Moorjani, talking about the impact that her near-death experience had on her. And we're going to end the day with a conversation with Proof of Heaven author Eben Alexander. Then the conference continues with other incredible keynoters and presenters. We'll be talking to Vera Spilner, who is a physicist and philosopher, and Helena Wabe from IANDS, and she's their leading researcher on the team. Alex Ferrari will be speaking about his life, interviewing people and telling the stories of those who've been impacted by their near-death experiences. So it's going to be an incredible 4 days in Seattle. We've got some incredibly interesting panels, and we've also got other features that people really love, like our healing center, where you can have a Reiki session, or you can meet with a medium, or talk with a spiritual coach. We've got our conference bookstore, our exhibit floor, and we've also got our Saturday night party, which is always a favorite event. So it's going to be an incredible 4 days in Seattle. And we're fortunate that we're going to be in the very city that has one of our largest local groups, Seattle IANDS. So we're sure we're going to have a lot of people from that organization. And Seattle's just a great town with a large death positive community. And so we're reaching out to those organizations to connect with them and welcome their members as well. We're really looking at how near-death experiences impact people. When it comes to near-death experiences, these aren't one-time occurrences for those who have them. They're transformative. They change lives. They shift priorities. They increase empathy, generosity. They can deepen spirituality, reduce fear of death. And so we're looking at programming that relates to how people have been changed by near-death experiences.
Last year, approximately 1,000 people, around 900, attended this conference. Do you expect to have the same amount of people this year?
Well, our trend line has been going up year after year. So we're hoping we might break 1,000 this year. You never know, but I feel like our program is irresistible. And we're watching the registrations rolling in. It opened this week. And there is a lot of enthusiasm for what we've got going on there.
So this is going to take place in August 26th to 30th, right?
That's correct. That's correct. And we are so excited. We're about, I think it's 87 days away from the time of this taping. And we can hardly wait to get there. As we get closer, the momentum just builds. And we've got so many volunteers who are helping really bring this event to life, and their enthusiasm is contagious.
So this will be available live, but also it will be streamed, right?
That's right. We do have a live option, and we have a live stream option if you can't travel to be there. And we also offer many volunteer opportunities for people who would like the reward of receiving discounted registration. So if someone wants to come but would like to reduce their registration rates, they can just contact us at volunteer@iands.org, and we'll try to set them up with an opportunity that will be meaningful and helpful to them.
There's also a discounted early bird registration price, right?
That's right. Our early bird rate runs through May 15th. And we always have a student rate for students who contact us with a .edu email. And for veterans and active duty military, we offer free registration. And people just need to email us at veterans@iands.org. And that's really thanks to a very generous bequest from a former IANDS leader who had a military career, Diane Corcoran. And so we know Seattle has a very large veterans community, and we're working to spread the word among that community. For those who've had near-death experiences while they were in the military, it's been something they've had difficulty talking openly about because they were scorned in many cases. And so we love to work with veterans and make them feel that they can share their story in a safe space.
When will this discount end?
The veterans registration and the student discounts do not end. Our early bird rate ends July 15th.
Let's talk a little bit more about this expanded lives, exploring the impact of near death and related experiences. How did this topic come up?
Our conference committee always spends a lot of time thinking about what would be a good theme, and we try to change it from year to year a bit. And we think the evidence of the transformative effects of near-death experiences are really compelling. And it's very interesting because we just did some research for Near-Death Experience Week, which we're hosting for the first time this year, and we polled 2,100 Americans. And we were really amazed to hear the responses about how many people felt they had had a near-death experience where they transitioned to another realm and then returned to their earthly bodies. 27% of people said they had experienced one. That's much higher than we anticipated. 35% of people said they knew someone who had. But importantly, whether they had had one or whether they had heard about one, people said it deepened their spirituality, it reduced their fear of death, they found it comforting, and they felt that there was strong science to support the phenomena. So it's really fascinating to see these results. It's the first time we've done a survey like this, and we did it with a reputable polling firm randomly of the American population. So we feel that the results are solid and they're provocative. And I think it's really important that we start talking to people, not just about the fact that an NDE occurred, but what impact it can have. And we harness those positive outcomes. Death anxiety is a very difficult thing for people to live with, whether they're close to death, facing a serious illness, or simply anxious about what might happen after this life. And learning more about near-death experiences and hearing stories of deep connection from people who have had them can really help people live fuller, less anxious lives, whether they're young and healthy, whether they're older and closer to a transition, or whether they're facing a serious illness. So we want to really bring these conversations out at our conference and throughout the year. And we want to normalize conversations about near-death experiences so people feel they can talk about it without being judged or thought to be somehow, a little loopy, because we know they're not. There's peer-reviewed science that shows that this is occurring, and there's peer-reviewed science that shows that the experiences are consistent on various levels. We've got the Grayson scale, which helps us evaluate individual near-death experiences and score them so that we can compare them. And we see consistent outcomes in the stories, and we see consistent tales of the effects they have on people's lives.
You've been with IANDS several years now, and you just mentioned that people have this transformation, they lose their fear of death. What about you, in your case, when you started working with IANDS, did you fear death? And how about now, after meeting so many near-death experiencers, what happened internally?
That's an interesting question. I am not a near-death experiencer, but I have certainly lost people in my life and contemplated death. And I've struggled to fit into a traditional religious framework. I've long been a seeker, and now that I've heard the stories and I'm immersed in the subject area, it gives me a sense of peace. It really does. It gives me a sense of comfort. And I I love when someone at IANDS says, "Oh, you lost your sister or you lost your friend. Have you heard from them?" And I can say, I feel I really have. I feel like when that song played, that played for a reason. And it's very comforting to me that I can talk about this. I'll tell you one little story that happened since I've been at IANDS. Uh, I have a brother, or had a brother, sadly, who was 16 years older than I was. And he taught me how to play the guitar as a child. And I competed in Illinois. And I had a very limited choice of the songs I was able to play, but I chose Moon River. And I practiced Moon River for years. And I played it in 2 different competitions, and I actually won first place. I was only 10 years old, but it was referred to as Janet's song in my household, and my mother would cry when it would come on. Well, my brother died in his sleep. He had lung disease, and he donated his body to science. And I made sure his body went to my alma mater, which is Northwestern University. It meant a lot to me that he go to my alma mater. And he was cremated after they were done with the research. And they had a special service to honor his generosity and the generosity of other people. And the Northwestern Ensemble came out to play music for the ceremony. And guess what song they played? Moon River. That is not your typical song played at an event like that. And I was comfortable telling people at IANDS about my synchronicity instead of my coincidence. I was comfortable saying my brother sent me a message. And I really believe that. And it was very emotional to hear that song at my alma mater at such a meaningful time.
So you've really gone through a spiritual transformation ever since you started working with IANDS, right?
I absolutely have. And much of it comes from interacting with people who've had near-death experiences, from hearing their wisdom. And I'm also further reassured when I get to interact with people like Bruce Grayson at the University of Virginia, and to hear that these are personal stories, but that credible scientists are publishing peer-reviewed literature on this topic and telling these stories in highly credible ways. So the science and the personal stories come together in a really powerful way that I feel has improved the way I'm able to live my life, and helped me think more comfortably about my own death as I age.
This poll you just mentioned, was it done recently?
The poll was done in March, and it was done by IANDS working with Sentiment. And it's not currently planned to appear in the Journal of Near-Death Studies, but we did issue a press release about it this week, and we're making the findings available.
I would like to have it and maybe talk about it on another podcast. Can you send it to me?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes, I'd love to do that. And yes, one of the things there's a research that stated that people who hear about near-death experiences also have this transformation. They don't have to go through a near-death experience, but once you start watching YouTube videos, hearing about near-death experiencers, you start losing your fear of death. Near-death experiencers lose their fear of death. That's one of the main characteristics. So I think that people who will attend this conference can gain a lot. They can have a spiritual transformation. What do you think?
I think absolutely. No one leaves our conference untouched by what they've heard. And I think it really is so wonderful that we bring together people from so many different disciplines, whether it's a researcher, a physician, a nurse who may be caring for patients in a cardiac unit or at hospice, clergy, experiencers, and people who are spiritual seekers and find inspiration. So whatever is inspiring to you, you find at our conference. And I heard somebody say, if you're into near-death experiences, This conference is your Super Bowl. I'd love to take credit for that line, but I think that's really true. It's incredible to have that many people together, to be in an environment where people are like-minded. People speak your language. People understand. People don't roll their eyes when you talk about your views, your questions, or your own personal experience with either an NDE or other forms of spiritually transformative experiences.
So this spiritual Super Bowl is coming to Seattle, August 26th to August 30th. If someone is interested in attending live or through the streamed conference, what can they do? How can they register?
They can visit our conference webpage, which is at conference.iands.org. And that's conference.iands.org. All the information is there and a link to register. You can read about all the different sessions we're having and all the different features the conference offers.
So can people register now?
People can register now. Registration opened on May 26th.
Okay, so whoever is watching this, I think you have a big opportunity of attending to this conference. Please register now. So thanks a lot, Janet. I know that this conference is going to be outstanding. So do you have a final thought for our viewers?
I hope you'll give serious thought to joining us either in Seattle or online, because I feel very confident you won't be disappointed.
Hope to see you there.
Hope to see you.
Hi, I'm Janet Riley, and I'm the Executive Director of the International Association for Near-Death Studies. And I am thrilled to invite you to join us at our annual conference.
We'll be in Bellevue, just outside Seattle. More than 30 different speakers, some presenting alone, some presenting in panels. We're going to be starting our first night with Eadie, who wrote Embraced by the Light, having a conversation in the evening. And then our opening keynoter will be a favorite, Anita Moorjani, talking about the impact that her near-death experience had on her. And we're going to end the day with a conversation with Proof of Heaven author Eben Alexander. Then the conference continues with other incredible keynoters and presenters. We'll be talking to Vera Spillner, who is a physicist and philosopher, and Helena Wabe from IANDS. And she's their leading researcher on the team. Alex Ferrari will be speaking about his life, interviewing people and telling the stories of those who've been impacted by their near-death experiences.
You'll experience healing workshops, including meditation, Reiki, spiritual counseling, and our beloved bookstore with exclusive book signings, surrounded by others who share your interests and your experiences. Come make friends and become part of a warm, caring community that will beckon you to return.
And we've also got our Saturday night party, which is always a favorite event. So it's going to be an incredible 4 days in Seattle.
Join us for 4 inspiring days. Our hope is that by supporting research and people, and by communicating far and wide to reporters, podcasters, and through our website and social media, we can normalize discussions about death and the afterlife and help answer the very important question: what happens when we die? Our planet faces unprecedented challenges, and our conference offers a place to recharge, to be informed, to be healed and inspired. Register now at IANDS.org, that's IANDS.org, and become part of a gathering that informs, heals, and inspires. We hope to see you there.
This has been the A.J. Parr Spiritual Journalist Podcast.
Death is not the end. Listen well, my friend. Everything will mend.
Please like, share, and subscribe.